Hey guys, this is Mikro with patch 3.03 going live today. Although we did do a patch review yesterday, there's been some changes that I think are not very clear from this patch notes that I wanted to highlight today, just so that they can either get hot fixed or so that you could use them more so to your advantage and no one has like an uneven playing field in terms of bugs slash potentially exploits, but honestly it's more in a line of bug than exploits for this patch. Starting off here, for the good stuff rather than going to the bad stuff right away. This pass actually works now. So we've been doing testing with this in game. I've been confirming that it's giving 25% base reduction now. It was not doing that before. So nice that that's finally getting fixed. So the wall is basically your best in slot item for most tanks in PvP. But in PvE, it's a little bit more debatable, I think, if you want the sturdy effect or if you want the wall and you can't dodge. Because if you can't dodge, some bosses are like really, really going to hit you hard. But this is 25% base damage reduction, which is very, very, very strong in PvE, especially because bosses don't have that base damage reduction. So you're effectively going to be taking 75% of the damage that you normally would in PvE. So this is like super, super solid to go for as well. Another thing that happened here that appeared to be changed that I think is changing, but we've had a hard time confirming from tests because it's kind of a tricky thing timing wise to confirm when someone's knocked or not knocked. But if a target is knocked down now, or if they're stunned, this auto effect will apply. The problem is, I think, is like when is this knock thing triggering? Because right now from tests, it's like very tricky to confirm that this is actually working. I haven't had someone be able to confirm it yet. I don't have Oda myself, so it's a little bit hard to tell. But like, if you go for the trip and you start hitting someone, are they knocked down when they're trying to stand back up, or are they knocked down during that initial trip effect? That's like the part that's like kind of hard to get a grasp on when this is actually working. But that got added to Odo successfully, and that seems to be working as intended, which is nice. Next up, we have another good thing where the plague crit stuff. This is actually working as intended, where the change to disease, where you could see here a few modifiers I'm going to go into in a second here. So you could see this heal scaling value modifier and this heal mod. This heal mod, this is incoming. So heal mod, this is like incoming effects for heals, and then this health scale value multiplier. This is an effect for outgoing heals. So that seems to be working as intended. There's a few other modifiers that I can kind of get into with a little bit more depth that are helpful for understanding this in context. I have a comment pinned on my Discord that Finch put out. This is why he has the expert role, because he does things like this and he's like very, very smart. But he shows here the different types of things that affect healing. You have this anointed thing. This is what life staffs have a lot of and why they're so effective. You have disease and you have this shriveled effect. The shriveled effect is the thing that's kind of newer that has that heal value multiplier. This anointed effect and disease effects counteract each other. Anointed is kind of an effect that will affect how much you are healing for. So in terms of heals in the game right now, you go to minus 50 to 100%, where minus 50 here would be disease, and then plus 100% here would be anointed. So this is like, you could think of the anointed as a divine effect, if you will, 50 focus, like those effects that boost the incoming HP, that's what's going to be affecting that. A disease, I think, is pretty straightforward. What's affecting that? It's like plague crits, trench, or plague strikes, scream, like, all the things that kind of make sense there. The part that's a little bit weird here is this heal scaling value multiplier. You could see here that it does have a limit, or so that got added in the game, which is probably a good thing because I was a little bit worried if it didn't have a limit. But there are some interesting things here. Bile does not actually have a shriveled based effect, so you're not going to be able to reduce healers' healing output by dumping a bile on them. But every other disease and effect in the game appears to be doing so. It's just that biles in particular are not added to that, which in my opinion seems like it's unintended, slash a bug. This is kind of in contrast to something like Plague Crits, which seems like to be one of the best perks in the game now without that 50% or less conditional applying, because you could hit someone while you're flanking, it will apply that Plague Crits no matter what. It's almost always better in strikes in that regard, because it's just going to be more consistent to apply from a melee perspective, because if you hit someone from behind, it's a guaranteed crit. That crit is going to apply that Plague Crits. and that will apply that heal mod based disease, and it will apply the heal value multiplier based outgoing heal reduction. And then Pestilence does both of them as well. There's a very interesting case with Pestilence though, where Pestilence itself is applying the same amount of scaling for the health mod and for the heal scaling value multiplier. So when you see that heal scaling value multiplier, you want to think of outgoing. And when you see health modifier, damage base, or sorry, not health modifier, damage base, the heal mod here. So this is out, and then this is in, right? And these are exactly the same versus every other disease effect in the game. It's effectively going to be like a 1 to 2 ratio, which maybe makes sense because it's called the Pestilence for the blunderbuss, but that's something that's inconsistent that I figured was worth highlighting. So the blunderbuss with the pest is still about the best way to reduce incoming or sorry, outgoing heals from a healer perspective, so it's still very effective at that. And this effectively is going to reduce the value of Ankh, but I want to kind of get into that in a second. And then the other thing here, from the bile perspective, I just wanted to show in game that this has the heal mod, but it doesn't have that outgoing passive, right? It has heal mod there, but it doesn't have the healing skill value multiplier. Also, shout out to New World Buddy. They allow people to kind of like look in the back in here, get a glimpse of this without having to look through the files in super gross depth, and it makes it very easy to kind of navigate and see what is working, what is not working with these new patches. Now, in terms of how this is actually affecting how healing is going to be working here, you have your outgoing healing, and then this is multiplied by a modifier. This would be kind of light, medium, heavy, that heal mod. That's like kind of a separate thing. And then that's going to be multiplied by the anointed or incoming mod. And then this is multiplied by Ankh. So basically, you could think of all this as right now for this patch, this effectively is going down in terms of how much healing is happening. And because that's going down, Ankh is also going to get less value because Ankh works multiplicatively off all these effects. So if you're originally going to be multiplying by 1,000 times 1.25, where this 1.25 is Ankh, and then this is getting reduced to 500 times 1.25, Ankh is inherently getting a lot less value with this new change. Or for easy math, let's just say that this is like 400 times 1.25, even though I don't think that's completely realistic. Or let's do one realistic. Let's say we go from 1,000 to like 800, right? That's fairly realistic. So if you're like going to do this before, this would be like 1250 HP versus this bottom one should be what 25% of this would be 200, so this would be 1,000 HP. So you're effectively going to be losing HP off your Ankh based off that outgoing change, and because of that, where that Ankh is not going to be as powerful because the heals are not as powerful, that opens up for discussion is Ankh Bis. And I think right now it still is Bis if you are still taking a lot of incoming heals. But if you're in a spot where you're not being healed consistently, it might be worth it to cut Ankh to try to heal more from your consumes because your healer might be getting affected by so much disease that although their heals are helpful, they're not going to be keeping you up enough with that Ankh bonus to where the negative part of Ankh is effective, if that makes sense. So if you're going to be receiving 250 less HP in this example, is that worth it for being able to heal from your pots by also 0.75 worth of that value? So they're healing for 3/4 of the value that it was, and you're going to be healing less from the healer. So this is like a big kind of change to Ankh, where Ankh I think is going to be called up for debate here. Is it best in slot? You could be running the earring that is out right now on the live patch with focus potions, for example, so you don't actually have to take advantage, or you don't have to. Sorry, wrong site. Every site has New World in front of it now. The autofill is not helping me here, but you could be running the earring that you can get from the reward track for the current season. Uh, what's it called? Endless Thirst. And this Endless Thirst, even though the pot duration is increased, your health pots are going to be healing for more. This got increased again on the PTR to be 40%. which will be interesting. But the thing that's noteworthy about this is you can pop a focus pot, which has no cooldown, has no animation as far as I could tell, and then that will proc both of these bonuses. So there's like alternatives to running Ankh, right? Maybe Ankh just isn't worth it at all, and you'd rather run like a health slash stam, don't have that divine, don't have that Ankh bonus, just be a little bit more independent, but when your healer can heal you, they'll still be able to heal you. So you have like options there, and I wouldn't just say like, hey, Ankh is best here, Ankh is terrible, but I would argue that neither has like a strictly bis situation, and both of them are debatable for which is better when. In terms of some other things that I think are bugs that probably could be fixed in the near future, with the wall, you could actually proc the light roll, and you can dodge with the wall right now, which is kind of funny. Like you're not supposed to be able to dodge, but you could proc the get out of jail free card rule if you get staggered 2 times. And then there's a few other things that are a little bit more interesting that I downloaded some clips from that I think will be helpful. There's a spot in Windsward right now where you can drown, so that's always fun to see that gets past QA. But if you might have a chance of like spawning and basically dying, so just don't AFK on that spot. Uh, and then also, if you get hit by the flail, you could trigger a free dodge roll right now just by getting hit by smite. This is 100% consistent. If you get hit by smite alone from a kite shield, the flail will trigger a free light roll because it staggers twice. And because of that, a flail with the kite shield is more or less dead. There is a way to counteract this from your tree in game, but it's kind of against the spirit of flail right now. And I'm kind of hoping this gets hotfixed because it's basically making it so Arcane Smite here, if you take this deflecting frailty perk, that's going to proc the double stagger, so you can't take this perk effectively, which means that whole idea of, hey, you want to be running focus with the flail so that you could provide these buffs to your allies and extend those buffs with that focus is like not completely valid anymore. You can only go down to here at this point. Your kite shield will still be able to stagger once, but it won't be able to proc this a second time, so you won't trigger those light rules, and you'll still be able to use that kite shield, but it's just a lot less effective than it once was, and I think it's a bit sad that it's like kind of like that right now, but that's what you're going to have to adapt to if you're using a flail with a kite shield. The alternative is to go for a tower shield. You won't be able to stagger on that smite anymore, but you'll be able to gain like a good amount of fortify, or you can go for a round shield if you want to do more damage. But that stagger is like a really big reason for why this smite is so good, so it's going to be really interesting to see how that shapes the meta. With that being said, if you guys learned anything new and you aren't sub, please consider doing so, and I will see you guys in the next video.